What is up, everybody? Welcome to this special Strength Solutions podcast, as we are going to be going over our programs and some special project we're working on. Yeah, buddy. But if you like what we're doing, please share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Then on YouTube, smash that like button right now. Smash it really hard, that subscribe. Go. Bah, bah, bah. Tell your friend right now as we're talking. Then, if you're looking for a website, it's Strength Solutions Podcast. That's where all our programs are on there for sale. And we got free blogs, how to build a bigger butt, how to do calories and protein. We got free guides. You could just check it all out. It's all free except for the programs. And we can help you decide which program you want to purchase on this podcast. Also, if you're looking for a place to email us, whether it's future fitness questions or about which program is right for you, it's strengthsolutionspodcast.com or strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Then if you're looking for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's Strength Solutions Podcast. On Instagram, I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Okay. First of all, we have this, programs. It's called STAMPS. Stands for Strength Therapy Accessible Muscle Programs. And the reason why we say strength therapy is because strength training is a lot of therapy for the body, for the mind. When you exercise, it helps recover the body.
Accessible, right? I think anybody can use them. I think that they're also very transformable. Right. We usually say that they're like templates. You can run them as a perfect program, right? If you can do every exercise and things like that. But it also leaves a lot of room to be able to be subbed out, changed, things like that in the same categories, right?
Yeah.
And then the muscle programming, right? Just because that is what they are. I'd also like to go back to our roots, man. Talk a little bit about it. Strength therapy, that was our first iteration of it.
Yeah.
I remember sitting together and like trying to come up with names and stuff like that. And we were like, that's fucking badass.
Yep.
And then the government was like, you can't name it that.
Yeah. You can't use it as a therapy.
Like, oh, okay, thanks.
Because you're not a PT.
Yeah, you need to be, someone actually has to have like a therapist title behind them. So if you go anywhere and they call it a therapy, it's not, can't do that.
Yeah, dude. So, also I want to talk about, I talked about therapy, talked about accessible. We talk about muscle and how muscle has protective effects, anti-aging, anti-cancerous. Why build muscle with good programming? To make it much simpler in life, to make your life a lot easier, to feel a lot better. So that being said, we're going to go into our first program. I don't even think this is the first program we made. But
I don't think it is either. Yeah.
I like to say this is the first program because this is probably where, if you're a beginner, I would start out. A lot of times the gym's very intimidating.
Yeah.
It can be really hard. What do? Do I spend like 3 hours? And what this program has is, it's called Newcomer. So it stamps Newcomer. It's the green one.
Yep.
And it allows for it to be like 30-minute sessions, 4 days a week. So you're not spending that much time at home working out. And then it gives you mobility sessions. And then it gives you the option of how many steps.
Right.
Or step range. So it does a lot of things for you at the very beginning. So it just helps guide you a little bit more than the other ones.
It's also one of the things that I like to tell people who have never been to the gym, that I think that it's an important program to run, because I know a lot of the times people are worried about not being strong enough, not knowing what to do, things like that. This whole program can be run at home with a set of resistance bands, maybe physio ball, maybe if you really want to, some lighter dumbbells. A lot of the exercises are meant to teach stability, right? Control, things like that. The mobility movements are the same through the majority of the program. So you get very, very good at them. You see progress happening with them. They address major parts of the body that we usually see, as problems, the hips, right? Shoulders, things like that, the ankles, right? And what this program, I think, does is it primes you, right? It gets you ready. It sets a foundation for you to take that first step into the gym. I think it's also a good program to take if you're traveling, right? If you're traveling a lot, if you're in and out of hotel rooms, if you're someone on the road a lot of the times, I think that this is something that you can do very easily with minimal equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's very beginner friendly. And all our videos are accessible to the program, and you get to keep the program for life when you purchase it, and you keep on going. Next one, Stamps Amplify.
No, I think this is the first program we made together.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And in this program, it's a 3-day-a-week program, and it's a full body. It takes a little concept of hypertrophy and like a little bit of powerlifting, a little bit, takes your main lifts.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-day-a-week program with AMP sessions. And these AMP sessions are 5 to 10 minutes long. They're just made to get you a pump. You could do them 3 times a day because they require bands. And I think it's a great program for a person who we talk a lot of wants to work out, but didn't want to work out all week.
Yeah. I think it's also a great, again, introductory program to programming, right? To learning how to actually move in the gym, what exercises you should be doing. I think Amplify is probably our most like well-rounded program. It's really good for building muscle, right? Learning the foundations of strength training, right? Learning how to get all of these things in. It's very, very traditional, right? You're going to do your main lifts, the lifts that you probably see the most, right? Your barbell squats, benches, dumbbell work. It goes through a lot of different phasing of exercising, which all the programs kind of follow as well, which is like strength training, right? There's hypertrophy, there's kind of that finishing endurance phase, all of those things that you're going to get and that make a good program. This is probably, I think, my favorite program that we've made. I think it's the most versatile in terms of, again, of being able to be applied to a lot of different situations and people. I like this program. It would definitely, if we're kind of lining them up right in terms of like how to go step by step through them, it's newcomer, and then I would definitely say take on Amplify next.
And I think Amplify is the second one best to start after the newcomer, is because it's very traditional.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. And I think that once you have the foundations of Amplify down, you've run it maybe once, maybe even twice, that you're more ready to go into the other programmings, which are a little more like intermediate to maybe advanced, right?
Yeah. And I think it's perfect because then you could build upon your nutrition here.
Yeah.
At newcomer, you could start with like your protein and getting your like calories consistent. Then you could dial it a little bit more for Amplify. And that leads us to our next program, which is my favorite program.
Oh, God.
Magnify.
Yeah.
And what I love about Magnify, it's also a 3-day-a-week program, right? It's actually 5 days total, but 3 days, it's about 30 minutes each day. They're like 5 exercises per day.
I'll never forget. I remember when we made this program, I was building it out because I like made the little graphics for them and things like that. I remember texting you at one point and I was like, I think this program needs more exercises, man. Like, I think that there's not enough in here. And you were just like, okay.
I remember when Ethan told me the same thing.
Yeah. And I remember looking at it and I just never seen a program like that. But, as time has gone on and I've done other programs, I've seen programs that are super, super short. And it's funny because those are the most like confusing to me.
Yeah.
I remember when I was doing the Texas method.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 3 exercises every day. And I remember like asking my brother, I was like, can you explain it to me again? Because like, I just don't get how this is all you're supposed to do all day,
Yeah, dude. So it's about 3 to 4 exercises or maybe 5 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's just say. But what's cool about this one is it works more in the transverse plane, and you do some things that are unilateral. You do things that are twisting in the transverse.
You do a little more plyometric things.
More plyometric. So it's more athletically driven. And I think you could run this program all year long.
Yeah.
And go through the different phases. And I like the mobility days because it's more of a recovery in between your harder workouts.
The mobility days I found when I ran the program were honestly some of the harder days.
Really?
Yeah. I think in terms
because you go up in
because you
yards
go
and stuff like
that and the amount of things, and I think the fact that those are things that you don't do as often.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like
kind of like the bear crawls.
Oh my God,
like
dude.
that.
I remember fucking doing like the renegade rows and shit like that. Like I was like, this shit is balls, man.
Some carries, right?
Carries, there's a lot of carrying. And I think so like by the end of it, I was just like, I wasn't like, I guess you would say like tired, right? Like it's not one of those things where you're like, but it was, I was just so fatigued, like drained, I think central nervous system wise, because I just don't really do those movements.
And it builds up your volume over time, right?
It builds up your volume over time too. So it's like, you never really quote unquote get like a break from it. It just continues and continues and continues. But I think that doing that program is definitely, if you're like a traditional lifter, like myself, I would consider like someone that just likes doing my squats and bench and shit like that, I would probably tell you, out of all these programs, choose Magnify, because it's the one that is the most, I would say, different, you know, as opposed to like that quote unquote traditional lifting. And I think that it really, really helps. In fact, I think sometimes about running it again too, because as I've done more of my lifting now, I feel myself becoming more tight, not like as mobile, joint? Not as fluid, you know?
Okay. I don't know.
And so I at least adding in maybe even those mobility days on my days in between, right? I think even that would be beneficial.
Yeah. So this next one I think is perfect because now it adds a lot of volume.
Oh yeah.
And this would be someone who's dialed down nutrition, who's ready to take their lifting to the next level.
You've done the other programs?
Yep. Done the other programs. And this is Intensify.
Oh my God.
It's a 3-day-a-week program with AMP 2.0 sessions, right? Yeah. And what I really like about this is you could target an area to grow what muscle you want. So if you're a female who wants to grow their glutes, on those AMP 2.0 sessions, that's when you do your donkey kicks and your other things like that.
Right.
You know, you get to do a lot of more glute work. Or if you're a dude, I want to build my arms, I want to get better biceps. Well, that's when you do a little bit more bicep work. It's just not a high intensity.
I think the thing too, to kind of differentiate these two, because on first glance, Amplify and Intensify, I think, do look very similar. But I think, especially with the AMP sessions, the difference in Amplify, I tend to tell people to pick areas that they're weak at, right? Like if it's my rear delts or my posture, or if I have pain in my lower back, maybe I need to do more core things, et cetera, stuff like that. With the AMP 2.0 and Intensify, it's more of what you want to do, right? Like you said, like, hey, I want to grow my butt and I want to grow my arms. Cool, then go for it, right? Like hit those things. Now, this one is super volume intensive. I think multiple times I've done this program, gotten to the last phase, and just like fucked up, because that shit is tough, man.
You gotta be dialed down nutrition, sleep, especially in that last phase. Let's talk about that last phase.
Okay, yeah.
Dude, supersets.
Superset after fucking superset. And it's just like the whole damn program. And so you need to
But you get a mad pump in that.
Yeah, one, dude, it's crazy. It's exhausting, man. Like you finish it and you're tired. And so that's what we're talking about. Like if you want to get the gains from that, if you want to get the gains from the whole program, you need to be sleeping. Your stress needs to be on point, right? You need to be dialed in nutritionally, at least to some extent, more than you were in the past, or I promise you, like, you legit won't make it through the program.
Yeah. And if you're a person who thinks I should start here, you better put 3 months aside to say, these 3 months, I'm going to get my sleep, my nutrition, and everything a go. Not so much early in the program, but as you get later in the program and the volume builds, you really, really need to think about, hey, I got it dialed down by the halfway point.
Yeah, this is definitely not a beginner program, right? If this is your first time in the gym, I wouldn't choose Intensify. I'd definitely start at Amplify instead.
Last one that we have available right now is Boost. This is your push, pull, legs workout that everybody loves to do.
Yeah.
And I get the same comment every time. That is not enough leg work.
You know what I tell them? You're not going hard enough.
And I think too many times they think they need to do a bunch of exercises,
right?
And it's just just keep it simple.
Like I think on phase 2, one of the leg days, it's like 4 exercises.
That's correct.
But if you look at it, it's like barbell squat, hip thrust, these big movements that if you're doing them properly, 4 is enough, and if you're doing these big compound lifts and you're lifting at a high percentage of your weight, you should be able to get enough through that. In fact, I mean, a lot of the programs that we've done, even the ones that we have, like Amplify, Magnify, Intensify, things like that, there's really not that much leg work. By the way, all of these besides Boost are full body, right? They're full body movements and programs.
I wouldn't even say there's that much leg work. It's their appropriate amount of
It's an appropriate amount of leg work, right? Yeah, like it's like each day you're going to do a leg movement. It's going to be a large compound movement, probably be your first movement, right?
Because that's where you use most of your energy.
Yep. And that's where you should be going the hardest, and that's where you should be putting a lot of the intensity at. And that should be enough. I've never done a split program, really. I've run Boost before, but that was like the only time I've ever done it.
I hate splits.
I hate them too. I honestly, I
Takes
just
up too much time.
I just don't have the time. Yeah, I just don't have the time to do it. So I'll do them in like more like phases. Like, oh, I feel like doing a split this month, so I'll run phase 2 of this program. You know, instead of kind of running it all back to back. Now, I will say when I have put clients on this program, I feel like they tend to like this the most.
Because
they like to go to the gym. Yeah, it's simple. It's what they're used to doing. And so I think if you've run a split before, you'll probably like this program. I think if you haven't run a split before, I would say run this program. Right. Again, in the same kind of context as like Magnify, you got to change the novel stimulus, right, of having more volume through the chest throughout the week on certain days only can probably help kind of progress you if you've been feeling a little stuck.
All right. And then in this fall, we're going to release a program called Circus. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, we've been sitting on this one for a little while.
Yeah. And it's going to combine non-traditional and traditional training for those who get tired of doing the same thing every day or doing a push-pull leg or doing traditional full body. This is for somebody, and it's not easy. I'm going to tell you that right now. I went through the whole program. Yeah. It is not easy, but I will say this. You get the most strength in your transverse plane that you will out of all these programs because of movements like the windmill and other moves that we have, the circus press. Yeah. It's just insane.
Very unconventional, right? The lifts that you don't really see that often. It's funny when I see people doing lifts that are in programs like this or just whatever, I'm like, oh, you're real. Because it's like, you know, the shit that is like the sleeper movements. You know what I mean? And I don't want to give away too much of it just because it's got some really cool lifts in there and stuff. And so I think learning this one is definitely... has
a little bit of landmine too.
Yeah, yeah. Experiment with it, right? I think it's kind of you definitely need to finish all those programs first, right? In terms of like getting your base foundation of like, I know a lot of lifts, I'm comfortable with my body, I know how to move it, I'm, you know, in control, things like that. And then you can kind of start to optimize or just move into different areas like circus and start challenging yourself in different ways. You know, again, too, if you're someone who's just been very traditional and just kind of stagnant in your training, I think doing something like this is awesome. And you're going to see the transfer, you know, from a program like this back into your foundational lifts.
Yeah. And then the last part is coaching.
Oh, yeah.
We have something coming out. It's going to be called Strength Solutions University. Well, I'm going to tell you it's coaching. We're not going to go too in depth, but you could purchase these programs. You could run these programs as you're getting coached. But we're focused like one thing each month there's going to be a focus. For example, one could be 1 month we're just going to focus on how to make your squat better and then making sure your protein's on point. The next month it may be your hinges and you get mobility exercises with it. It's a lot of cool concepts. And we're to treat it like a university. So year 1, we're to talk about stuff. Year 2, and then eventually this will be like a virtual online university people can take.
Right. Something that you can kind of go through, right, and learn all these foundations because, man, even with an hour or 2 hours, I feel like there's so many things that we don't get to talk about on the podcast, in our YouTube shorts. You know, people love pointing that shit out and everything.
By the way, this guy can't do a Cossack squat to save his life.
Oh, I was going to ask you, was I wearing yellow shorts in that one?
I don't recall.
I remember doing it, and I was like, these shorts are going to rip if I go too low. I got to take them off and show you again. Okay. Yeah. And this is something that we've been like wanting to do. You know, we want to help people. We want to help the general population. I love helping trainers and things, but I think at the end of the day, the general population are the people that we need to reach out to, are the people that need the most help, are the people that want to learn. Yeah. And so we are coming up with this concept in a way to help a lot of people get as much information about fitness in a straightforward, you know, full concept and detailed out, to where, like you said, it is like a school and they can learn all of these concepts, take them and apply them to their own lifting, and get all the information that you would want, you know, in your 1 hour personal training session. Now you can have it in this whole sort of structured curriculum, you know, where we go through certain things and
you can continue asking questions too.
And you can continue asking questions in forums and things like that. You know, it's sort of building this community that we've been looking for Strength Solutions of just helping everyone.
Yeah, I think it's this perfect scenario. I think my favorite moments is like having this young woman today, and she's having these aha moments. Like, that's why my shoulder didn't move. This is what it is. You know, other coaches had her do this movement, and it wasn't getting it better. But I was like, well, you do these movements, and then that'll make that movement better. Yeah. And she's like, oh, wow. Like, it's opening up. I've never done a push-up like this. I've never like jumped off something and like my back hurt. Like seeing those aha moments for each individual. And then there's a lot of people who think they know what a squat is, but there's so many different variations of squats. There's like the ankle heel complex or ankle hip complex. Then people don't think about their thoracic spine and neck when they squat and how it affects their squat. And we go over all these things in that Strength Solutions University.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I'm really excited to be giving out this information, to be helping people, especially like taking questions and things like that. We love that, you know, so if you guys have questions, please ask us. Yeah, I think Strength Solutions University is kind of that next iteration of Strength Solutions and the next step that we're going to take with everyone, you know, for everyone. We did a lot of deliberating about it and kind of like wondering, right, you know, like what is our next step? Where do we go? What do we really want this to be? You know, and I think that this is what it is. And we really hope that you guys are going to love it.
Yeah. I think it's crazy because we thought we were going to be like, oh, we're going to do a personal training studio and get people in there. But I think at the end of the day, we want to be like educators. I just want to, you know, the whole reason we created this was to like stop misinformation, talk to people about truth and reality, real life concepts, you know, and how to apply fitness to that instead of everybody that you see, you know, on social media, even in real life, you know, who talk about shit and how you need to be doing more, you're not doing enough and all of these things, and just being real with people. And I think that this is like our direct avenue to that. Yeah. And we have a bunch of free blogs and guides in our website, Strength Solutions Podcast. And so I'm going to give you all an example. Like we want to talk about like these myths that how to build a butt, right? And we created a free blog about it and how you have to do your main lifts, how it's not these little donkey kicks and stuff like that that really build your glutes. It's more the main movements, and that's like a supplement movement to what you need to do. Also, that you got to be in a surplus. Most people want to build glutes, but they're not in a surplus.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to overconsume. And we want to dispel a lot of those things and be able to coach people along the process as well in a big group setting. And then other people in the group help the other people and build a community that really just helps each other out.
Maybe even have options for that one-on-one type of thing, you know, where it's like, hey, let us go through a little bit more consult wise, you know, in terms of how do we help you with your individual need? Because even though we create a large, you know, structure and everything like that, everybody's going to have different issues, you know? And while we can kind of touch on everything, I think it's important to still realize that everybody has nuance, right? And nuance is so important, and it's not so clean cut like a lot of people like to make it seem.
Yeah. And we want people, if you need that one-on-one help, is to have trainers in the forum, in the group, to kind of, hey, you want to get one-on-one coaching, you could go with this trainer. We trust him or trust her, right? All right, guys, if you like what we're doing, please share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Also, if you're looking for us on YouTube, it's Strength Solutions Podcast. We can hit that like button right now. Don't stop. Just hit it. Hit the subscribe. Then leave comments down below. If you're looking for our website, strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, Strength Solutions Podcast. On Instagram, I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time, guys. What? Peace.